Coming of Christ already came.
Correct.
Who was the second coming of Christ?
So 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ established the church, gave us the fundamental teachings in order for us to follow Christ. However, during that time period, he also said that an enemy will come and sow weeds among the wheat. So false teachings later on.
Right.
He said that when everybody falls asleep, Satan will come and sow weeds among the wheat. So false teachings are going to look like God's true teachings. So over time, that happened. So it went from the Sabbath day to Sunday. It went from keeping the Passover, the bread and wine, to communion. It went from the Feast of Pentecost to Christmas, Easter. All these traditions that we're now keeping, those were introduced by a different organization. With that understanding, Jesus Christ says in the book of Hebrews that he's going to appear a second time to reestablish and rebuild Zion, God's church. The disciples asked, when is this going to happen? In the book of Matthew chapter 24. And Jesus Christ's response was, when the fig tree leaves blossom, I'm right at the door. The fig tree represents Israel, and the figs represent Israelites. So when the fig tree blossom, when Israel becomes a nation again, Christ will be here. So Israel became a nation right after World War II, right after the Holocaust in 1948. We live in 2023. So I subscribe to the belief that Christ already came a second time. And it's going to sound crazy to anybody who hears this without studying the prophecies. Because right now, people are just listening to somebody they don't know, a stranger saying it versus them seeing it for themselves in the Bible. Same thing that happened 2,000 years ago. Peter, Paul, they had to testify to something that sounded crazy to them.
You believe this?
All right, Shalom. This is your brother Yawanathan. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rekha Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And I want to say shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. A friend of mine sent that clip to me as fuel for my daily lesson. And we're going to respond to it according to the scriptures. The guy butchered Matthew, the 24th chapter. Complete lack of understanding as to, the order in which prophecies take place. Now, the spirit of Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, is the spirit of prophecy pursuing Revelation 19:10, right? But these prophecies that we were given to look out for happen in a particular order. Now, the point I want to start off with in regards to if the Messiah came already, there's a particular fashion in which he told us himself, out of his own mouth, that he would return. Okay, so we'll get that in Matthew, the 24th chapter. But I also want to go to Jeremiah, just to if you want to use 1948 to say that, oh, you see, Israel's they're back in their land, which pursuing the prophecy, that's not how the nation of Israel, the true bloodline descendants, would return to the land of Israel. The Balfour Declaration of 1948 does not line up with prophecy. That's not how we were prophesied to return. When the nation of Israel goes back to the Holy Land, they're going to be the sole superpower of the entire world. And the entire world, all the people, are going to have to abide by the laws, statutes, and commandments. Is that happening now? No. That's just one strike. But in Jeremiah, when we go here, you'll see that when we go back to the Holy Land, it's going to be even more majestic than the deliverance out of Egypt. And no one with an honest heart can look me in the face and say, hey, the state of Israel being formed in 1948 outdoes the deliverance from Egypt. No, not at all. Not even close. All right? Doesn't even hold a candle up to it. So let's get it in Jeremiah, the 16th chapter, because it flat out tells you that nobody's going to talk about the deliverance from Egypt anymore. They're going to talk about the deliverance from the North Country, which we all know, for returning listeners and those who have been learning, the future kingdom, that the daughter of Babylon that's prophesied to come, that will have all 12 tribes oppressed together, is America, who sits at the head of the NATO and the EU. They're the elite's main corporation they use for its military power to push its agenda in the earth. Now, you go down to Jeremiah 16, and we'll start at verse 15 here, or 14 actually. It says, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So they're not going to talk about that first Exodus anymore. because it's going to pale in comparison to the second one that's going to take place. Okay? And nothing like that has taken place. And 1948 does not fit the bill. Okay? Verse 15. But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So, they're going to be brought back into the land. The curses are going to be lifted off of them. And the curses, pursuing the Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, is stated to be upon the nation of Israel until the deliverance takes place. So anybody who's claiming to be the people, they would have to fit the curses prophesied in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, from the 15th verse on down all the way through verse 68. They would have to fit all of those. And the people, in the land today, they don't fit the curses. The curses aren't lifted until the kingdom of heaven is established upon the earth. So, if we're going by prophecy, which is what we're supposed to be going by, prophecy is chief and king. None of that adds up. None of that adds up. Also, the Messiah is going to return in the midst of Armageddon, World War III. 3 woes are prophesied in the scriptures. All right, and the third war was prophesied to be fought by thermonuclear destruction. And we'll go get that. Let's go to Isaiah 9. I think I had it pulled up before I started the lesson. Isaiah 9 and 5, and then we'll go to Zechariah 2 to show you that, there's a particular way in which this third woe is going to be fought. A woe is a great destruction, and there's 3 woes prophesied in the Bible. And the third woe, even details in the scriptures which nations are going to be a part of it. It talks about Gog and Magog. It talks about Russia. So it gives you the lands in which these countries in the future will hail from. Okay? So, but let's talk about how the fashion in which that third woe is going to be fought. And there hasn't been a third world war or a great war which both sides possess this nuclear capability and fought it out that way. That hasn't happened yet. Okay? All right? People say, it's talking about ancient Babylon. Well, ancient Babylon wasn't destroyed by fire. That kingdom was transferred. All right? The country was intact. It was just transferred. The dominion was transferred over. Okay, so it's not. When it talks about that lake of fire and then burning that great whore, it's talking about a future country. All the prophets were being shown visions of a future nation that will oppress the nation of Israel. All right, so this is Isaiah 9 and 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise. Now, when you think about a battle or a fight, or you've seen the war movies yourself. It's confused, but cannons, guns going off, men screaming because they've lost their limbs, people dying, right? Confused noise. In garments rolled in blood, right? But this now is differentiating the way this third great war is going to be fought. It says, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And then immediately after it talks about, that third woe. Verse 6, it says what? For unto us a child is born, and unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. Okay, so it talks about the Messiah himself being upon the earth, ruling. Every eye shall see him, right? Like it talks about in Revelation. If he is already returned, it's not going to be in secret. It's going to be blatant and out in the open. This is folly, man. When people listen to these guys get on podcasts. Everybody has a podcast. when people listen to these people, man, and it's like, dude, they have to use the words. They have to use the scriptures. Isaiah 8 and 20, 1 Peter 4 and 11. They have to use the words to speak. All right, for unto us a child is born, and unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Okay, so, and under Yahweh Shai, of course, the spirit of David, King David's going to be right up under him. Then you have the 12 and the order on down from there. I could really just end it there. I might bring out 1 or 2 more. I might even make this a series. What I want to do is I'm going to charge the brotherhood for us to just go down a checklist of all the prophecies that the people in the land don't fit, that the prophecies, that the checklist that we have to go through before we step into the another thing that just popped to mind. When the children of Israel return back to the Holy Land, that's going to be after that third woe, and no nation is going to learn war anymore. The thing about 1948, when the very night they were put in that land, they were bombed that same night. Nation isn't going to learn war anymore. When you go to Joel, the 3rd chapter, it talks about gathering all the nations for war in the valley of Jehoshaphat off the coast of Iran. That is the location in which the third woe is going to go down in heavy. All right? And it talks about all the nations being gathered there. Let the weak say, I am strong. Meaning that, more than one nation is going to have nuclear power. Okay, they're going to have ICBM capability. And even these smaller countries, they're backed by countries like China and Russia. You see? So, that very night, they were put in the land. Okay, if we're going by prophecy, which is chief and king and what we're supposed to go by, right? There's another red flag. And we already went through like 5. Nations aren't going to learn war anymore. Also, when they return, they're going to be changed. The nation of Israel, the elected nation of Israel, because two-thirds of our people are going to be killed off, pursuant to Zechariah 13:8, within the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay? When they return to the Holy Land, they're not going to be regular people. They're not going to live and die like regular people. They're going to be changed. They're going to be the one people on earth who do not die, who have everlasting life. They're going to be immortal. Okay? We shall all be changed. Talking about all those of the chosen seed. When you go to Corinthians, how have they been changed? They come on now. It's like, I believe I got cut out there. But yeah, when the children of Israel go back to the Holy Land, they shall all be changed. They're dying left and right now. So another strike. In Joel the 3rd chapter, it talks about the nations turn your plowshares into swords. But then when you go let me pull it up here. I believe it's in Psalms 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let's start at the top here. Psalms 2. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. Psalms 83, where it talks about all the nations coming together, confederate against Israel, trying to cut the remembrance of the name of Israel out of the earth, trying to detach the true people from their heritage. Also, it's not until the kingdom of heaven is established upon the earth that the true children of Israel will even be recognized as the people of the Lord. Before the kingdom of heaven is established, it's going to be said to the children of Israel that they're not the people, that they're not the sons of the living God. Okay, let me see. All right, let me get that. In the place, let me find it really quick. It said, okay, bear with me guys here. Okay, yeah, Hosea 1:10, that's where it is. Yeah, Hosea 1:10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. And here it was said, to us that we're just niggas, we're just spics. We're not the, you know what I mean? But at the same time, because like it talks about in Daniel the 12th chapter, that there would be divine intervention because we were completely cut off from our heritage, pursuant to Jeremiah 17:4. When we were brought over here into slavery and our language was beat out of us, we were completely disconnected. But the Lord raised up men to spread this message, to actually stand up and we've been able to return unto our heritage. Okay. Now, oh man, this is a lesson that you could just do a series on. That you can go on and on and on. What I want to do is I want to charge the brotherhood. Let's go down and make a checklist and go part by part by part and just really dig in. And so through prophecy, like, if we're going by prophecy, which is what we're supposed to go by, not DNA test. We're supposed to go by prophecy. That's how you discern who's who, according to the prophecies. That's the only surefire thing, because we know the Lord isn't a man that he should lie. Men are capable of lying. Men are capable of fabricating things. Men are capable of doing a lot of misleading things. But prophecy cannot be mistaken. So that takes priority over everything. All right, so I'm going to go to Matthew, the 24th chapter, because he brought that up and he freaking butchered it, man. Oh, my gosh. All right, now you go to Matthew 24, and we'll just start at 21, right? Because, it alludes to Jacob's trouble, right? For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. He's telling what it's going to be like before he returns. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh, and it says the same thing in Daniel 12 and 1. Matthew 24 and 21, the precept to go along with that is Daniel 12 and 1. All right, but in Daniel 12, it tells you that the archangel Michael is going to have to stand up to deliver the believers of the nation of Israel. When did that happen? If the Messiah already came. Verse 22, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. Before the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. Why? Because he's not going to come in secret. Every eye shall see him. Revelation 1 and 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds. Now, I've done lessons on it. Many brothers have done lessons on it. When you go to Ezekiel, the first chapter, Ezekiel describes what the chariots of the angels looks like. What the world ignorantly calls UFOs. What NASA came down and deemed to be, there's vessels that we don't know. And they came out and said that, and nobody batted an eye. Like Eldiah Shawamba mentioned. NASA came out and told you there's crafts in the sky that we don't really have any idea what they are, and we doubt that they're of human origin. They came out and said that, and people just kept eating sandwiches. They really did. All right, so this is Revelation 1 and 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. And you can also use this when you want to go into the regeneration conversation. It says, and they also which pierced him, the same spirits that pierced the Lord, those same centurions that pierced him, they're going to be what? They're going to witness this. They're going to be back in the flesh witnessing the return of the Lord. And it's going to, and he's going to come. He's not going to meet them as a man, like the scriptures say as well. He's going to meet them as a great power. He's coming back with the chariots. It's going to look like Independence Day on times 1,000. All right. Behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him. And all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so. So this is extremely public. So nobody's going to be guessing, if it happened already. That's stupid. That doesn't make sense. Again, I could just end it here. But I want to go back to Matthew, the 24th chapter, because it backs up what we just read there. All the scriptures, all the volume of the book, Old Testament, New Testament, it's all saying it's all on one accord. And those who've been given the understanding to break it down, they can line it all up. Okay, a lot of people try to negate one or the other because it seems like to them it feels like it's contradicting itself, but they just don't know. They just haven't been given an understanding. Like the mystery of the Gentiles in the New Testament. Those Gentiles are just Israelite foreigners who are being brought back into the fold. You see? Matthew 24, and we just got done with 21, right? Let's read 22. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days should be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is the Mashiach, or there, believe it not. Why? Because we just read it in Revelation, that every eye is going to see him. It's going to be the most public thing ever. Verse 24, for there shall arise false messiahs, false prophets. Now, how are you going to know they're false? Well, they're not going to speak according to the Lord's word, Isaiah 8:20, right? 1 Peter 4:11. They're not going to be lining up the prophecies. Okay, they're going to be teaching things that are contrary to the scriptures, which is why it's pivotal that you study to shew thyself approved, right? In so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But the elect aren't able to be deceived. Why? Why aren't the elect able to be deceived? That's why it says, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. It's not possible to deceive the very elect because they know the prophecies. They understand that the mark of the beast is the last hurdle. They understand the things to look for, and okay, this has to happen before that, and this has to. They understand it. So nobody could bamboozle them with BS like this clip. Verse 25. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Right here in verse 27, he's telling you it's going to be the most public thing ever. So for him to use this chapter and say, I think it already happened, he doesn't. This guy is a lost soul. All right, then you jump down to verse 29. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, because we read verse 21, how it's going to, Jacob's trouble is going to be going on. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give a light. Why? Because it's going to be nuclear war going on. When the nuclear bombs are going off all over the country, all over the world, what do? They blot out the sun. All right, and I didn't go get Zechariah, but if someone needs more proof, put a comment in on the comment section and say, hey, Salaki, I got cut off. Somebody called me. Yeah, verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be. Yeah, the missiles. If you need more proof, say, hey, I need more information on nuclear missiles. That's what that's talking about. Leave a comment. I'll do another lesson. Or I'll just send you the link to another lesson that a brother's done, because we do all these topics annually, all the time, because there's always new people waking up to the truth. All right. Verse 30. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Because if I did everything that I mentioned, if I went over every lesson I mentioned, this thing would be like 3 hours long. You know. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. And they that shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds, you know what the clouds are, I mentioned earlier, of heaven, with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels with the sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven, even unto the other, all over the earth. The elect are going to be gathered up into the chariots, the so-called UFOs. It's going to be a angelic invasion all over the earth, and everybody's going to be witnessing it at the same time. It's going to be the most extravagant event ever in history, ever. Nobody's going to be confused that, oh, this is what's going on. It's not. Nobody's going to be like, did the Messiah come? Nobody's going to be able to. Bro, it's going to be the most public thing ever. So now let's go over to Micah 4:1. It says, but in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain, the government of the house of the Lord, shall be established in the top of the mountain. It's going to be the sole world power, like I mentioned it earlier in the lesson, right? And it shall be exalted above the hills, the smaller nations, and people shall flow unto it. I mean, this is going to be the nation that people come to for instruction and understanding. This is the nation that's going to be taxing all the other nations that they're going to give tribute to. Verse 2, and many nations, and that happens with the state of Israel here on this side, you know, on a smaller scale, all right? But not to the magnitude in which it's going to be. Verse 2, and the many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. Are the other nations governed by the laws of the Bible? No. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall beat, this is the opposite of Joel, the 3rd chapter, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares. The reversal of Joel, the 3rd chapter. In Joel, the 3rd chapter, they're beating their plowshares into swords, preparing for war. Here, this is the demilitarization of all the nations permanently. Okay? They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation. In 1948, that first night they got into the country, they got bombed. Strike. Ultimate strike. Neither shall they learn war anymore. It's been war nonstop since 1948. Verse 4, but they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord of hosts have spoken it. That's final. That's it. So, with that being said, I'm going to just end it there, man. I want to give all praises once more to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah Kodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And I want to say shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your house. Shalom.